We are locking up. Oh, come out.
Please, sir. Please, sir. Please.
Sir,
We give you only 2 minutes more. 2 minutes. We are locking up.
Sir, please, I'm begging you. Please, just give us
Walking
the
with you when
minutes.
you were coming.
Work came to a halt. Sales stopped. Hell was let loose at a popular electronics and furniture shopping plaza on Victoria Island in Lagos when enforcement officers of the FRS came calling on Friday, the 17th of October 2014. What was the charge? Failure to file annual tax returns, failure to file monthly VAT returns, and failure to remit millions of naira collected as VAT from buyers who come in their hundreds on a daily basis. The owners of the shop played hide and seek until the officers of the FRS had to shut down the shopping complex momentarily.
On Wednesday, 12th of November 2014, it was the turn of the Lagos Mainland East Enforcement Team. They enforced on 3 companies. At the first company, which was in Alausa, the accountant was very rude, violent, and uncooperative. He refused to discuss with the team, and he was taken away. At the second company, which is a subsidiary of a big supermarket located around Alausa, they had not been filing their returns. The vice president of the group was taken away when an agreement could not be reached at their office, and the management team did not have enough information. At the third company, which was a branding company, they had issues of non-filing of returns as well as non-remittance of tax deducted from their clients. The managing director was not in the office, but he rushed down when his employees called him. He made a commitment by signing a check of 2 million naira, and a letter was written to have further deliberations with the FRS the next day at their office in order to resolve other issues. On that same day, the Medium Tax Office, Lagos Mainland, Agidingbi, visited 2 companies. The first company was a factory owned by foreigners. They had not filed their returns and were owing taxes. They admitted that their account had issues due to their auditors. They refused to make any form of commitment or payment without their consultants. One of the managers was taken away. The Lagos Mainland East Enforcement Team visited 2 companies. The first company was a real estate company in Magodo. They already had an instrumental payment plan with the FRS but had not been complying with the plan. A commitment was made in writing that the check for that month will be paid the next day. At the second company, which was an engineering company in K2, the manager was not around. The accountant could not provide necessary information or make any agreement on behalf of his company. He was taken away by the FRS. The Victoria Island Micro and Small Taxpayers Office Enforcement Team visited 3 companies. At the first company, the finance officer was taken away because the MD was not around and the company had not filed its returns for the last 3 years. The finance officer could not make any commitment and he could not answer any of the questions concerning the tax liabilities. At the second company, which is a lodge, they had tax liabilities arising from non-remittance of VAT deducted from their customers. The FRS discovered the non-remittance during their audit exercise. They made an initial payment but did not complete it. They made a commitment by signing a check and a letter promising to offset the tax liabilities before an agreed time. In Ibadan, the regional coordinator and the enforcement team went on an enforcement drive. At the first company, which was an hotel in Ibadan, they were owing VAT deducted but not remitted, as well as non-filing of returns. One of the managers was taken away. The second company was a shop within a mall. The manager was not available, and the sales rep was not aware of the situation. He was taken away as well. At the third company, the accountant admitted that they had conflicting issues and their tax consultants were on it. After more discussion, a commitment was made in writing. At the fourth company, which is a factory, the managing director was not around, but he was called on the phone and he promised to go to the FRS office the next day. For 4 days, Monday 17th to Thursday 20th of November 2014, the Medium Tax Office in Kano and the FRS enforcement team stormed Kano to enforce on erring tax defaulters. On Monday, the team visited 4 companies. At the first company, they had not remitted VAT deducted as well as non-filing of returns for the past year. No agreement was reached and the assistant general manager was taken away. At the second company, an electrical distribution company, the senior officer on guard acknowledged receipt of the FIRS letter informing them of their debts. They claimed some payment had been made, but the accountant was not on ground and there was no evidence to back up his claim. They had issues of non-filing of returns and non-remittance of VAT deducted from clients. He was also taken away. On the second day, Tuesday, the 18th of November 2014, 4 companies were also enforced on. At the first company located in Sabongeri, the company is into security and consultancy services. They have tax liabilities arising from VAT and withholding tax deducted from their clients, as well as non-filing of returns. The managing director was taken away. On the third day, 2 companies were visited. The first company is an oil and gas company along State Road in Kano. They have tax liabilities arising from non-remittance of VAT deducted from their clients, as well as non-filing of returns for the past year. No agreement was reached, and the manager on ground was taken away by the FIRS.
Those clips sound and look familiar, don't they? They are excerpts from the stories of the various enforcement exercises carried out by various offices of the FIRS across the country, consequent upon the directive of the acting executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. We brought you those stories on several episodes of the program in the year 2014. We welcome you to this second episode of Tax Matters in the year 2015 as we wish you a very happy new year. We thank God Almighty for bringing us thus far, and it is our prayer that 2015 will be good for you. It will be well with you. Your businesses will grow stronger and your families will grow stronger. And the elections will be free and fair. On this episode of the program, we will be looking at enforcement. What is enforcement? At what stage in the relationship between the Federal Inland Revenue Service or any tax authority for that matter and the taxpayer does enforcement become imperative? What are the aims and objectives of enforcement? And with regard to the end of the year enforcement exercises carried out by the FIRS, what were the achievements? How did it affect the bottom line? My name is Olumoyiwa Matuloko, and the program is Tax Matters.
Form A?
Yes, Form A.
Is it compulsory we fill this form?
They want to know our income from all sources.
So they can tax us unnecessarily. No way!
You don't need to hide it.
Sir, you too?
Me too.
You are still on this matter. Mr. James, you should be the one encouraging us. Moreover, you have other thriving businesses. They all know about it.
We know.
I earn less than everyone else here. I filled mine.
Oh yes, if you live in the Federal Capital Territory or work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or you belong to the armed forces, be it Army, Navy, Air Force or Police, or you are a foreigner, then this message is for you. Form A is a form filled by all taxable individuals to ensure proper and accurate taxation and must be filled and returned within January to March so that government can provide the amenities such as good roads, clean water, adequate security, quality education and much more. It is the responsibility of every employer to collect Form A from any FIRS office and distribute to their staff for completion. Failure to comply will be punished according to the law. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
Welcome back. At the end of the very first in the series of enforcement exercises which took place between the 2nd and the 3rd of October 2014, we sat down with Mrs. O.O. Adedino, the Director, Oil and Gas Department at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. We asked, at what point in the chain, in the relationship between the FIRS and the taxpayer, does enforcement become necessary?
You know, when a company is doing well, is filing its returns as and when due, and is paying its taxes on due dates, there won't be any necessity to enforce, because the companies have obligations to file their returns on due dates 6 months after the year end. An account has been prepared, they are expected to file their returns. And then they are expected within 2 months of the filing to pay up all the tax liabilities. And as at the time the filing is being made, the companies are expected to attach evidence of remittance of first installment. So all this where companies are defaulting, then the filing and debt enforcement units take over. In the offices, they take over, and then they start the process of enforcement by writing reminder letters to these companies. And once the first, the second, the third reminder letters have been written, the companies refuse to respond. Also, a team from the office will go to visit the company as a follow-up to all the letters. And where the company still fails to oblige, then this kind of enforcement will be done. And the type of enforcement we have done is like warning the company, because what we're supposed to have done is to search and seize the documents of the company. There's another one where liability has been established. We should have even restrained the companies by disposing of their assets to defray the liabilities, but we did not do that. We are doing this with a view to prompting the companies to run and pay the liabilities, or prompting the companies to run and file the returns that were due that were not filed. I will call it a mild enforcement, like warning visits. That's what I will call it. Yes, the actual one, like I said earlier on, is either to go there to search the premises and seize all their documents, or to seal up the premises, because you could see that we did not seal up the premises, or where the liability has been established, we have authority under the law to distrain, that is, to confiscate the assets of the company, to sell the assets, and then recover the tax. Another one is power of substitution, to ask the bankers or the other agents of the company to pay the taxes on behalf of the companies. But what we have done was to go there to, like, a warning visit sort of.
Mr. Davupam is the tax controller of the FRS Medium Tax Office in Kano State. Mr. Pam reacted to the directive of the acting executive chairman in this way.
First and foremost, the chairman is working in accordance with the objectives of this organization. And down here in the field, what we expect is self-compliance. And as you already know, we have quite a number of good taxpayers that are complying. But we cannot all be one and the same. Definitely in atmosphere such as this, you will find certainly those that are highly recalcitrant. And those are the ones that will give them usually good notices and follow-ups. We also persuade them over phone calls and things like that. But when it becomes apparently clear that they are not making any move to comply, then we would be able to use enforcement. And this is just the one single reason for the exercise.
Why enforcement? Well, we embarked on enforcement because we discovered that so many companies are owing the federal government a lot of money. We also discovered that some don't just want to register. They don't want to be part of the team that is making Nigeria to work. They don't believe that there is need for them to exercise their civic responsibility as to pay tax to make the nation to go forward. So we embarked on enforcement because we have written several letters to several companies without any response. We even got to a stage where companies have instructed their security personnel not to receive any letter from FIRS. So when we were pushed to the wall, we now had to tell them, let them know that we don't just back, we can also bite.
What is enforcement and what leads to enforcement?
Enforcement generally is an act of making recalcitrant taxpayers to comply with the law, because it is expected that every taxpayer should file their tax returns annually. And where a taxpayer deliberately refused to file his returns or charge his value-added tax or refuse to remit VAT deducted from services rendered to other companies, or refuse or fail to file his returns, then the necessary provisions of the law will be invoked against such defaulting taxpayers. So that is where enforcement comes in the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
We also sought to know what issues were thrown up in the course of the enforcement visits.
Okay, man, now going round to the different offices and companies, what are the major issues that you have observed concerning the taxpayers?
We observed that some taxpayers really don't just want to pay. Some have the money. They don't want to pay because they believe even the little they have paid, they cannot see what government has used it for. And as a result of that, they just don't want to pay. Some don't want to pay because many people around them are not paying and nothing is done. Some don't want to pay because they are ignorant. They felt that it's only the state government that has rights to collect money from them. So why federal? Why should they pay into two different government agencies? Some, their consultants, their auditors, make them believe that they can talk to the FIRS. So they shouldn't worry. They can talk to the FIRS staff. We are friends. There's no need. So you don't worry. You will pay when you have the money. So we discovered that there are so many categories of taxpayers. Some don't just have documents. They don't keep documents. They just buy things, throw the receipts anywhere, and where they have to pay, they don't have record of even what they have given to the consultant or to the auditor. So incomplete records, it's one of the reasons why they run away from the tax office. They don't have records at all. And when we go for audit, the law permits us to use whatever records we can find there to arrive at their liability. So they shout. 2, they hide because they don't know the meaning of the taxpayer's identification number. They don't know what the uses are. So when we use the taxpayer's identification number to catch them through our web portal, to know the businesses they're doing, they become jittery. Where did you get the money from? What made you think I can have this turnover? So when we get to places where they have just one small room and a table, and we discover that this is a business that runs into hundreds of millions, but yet you see people with short knicker, you see people with torn shirt, and they ask you, how did you know I have such money? Look at my office. I don't have such money. So when we present them with a web portal printout, they'll just be looking. You mean you can get this information? So ignorance, yes, is no excuse in law, but there's still a lot of ignorance on the part of even our so-called educated citizens. They are still ignorance. Many of them, yes, they are lawyers, they are engineers, architects, doctors. They don't know anything about tax.
When companies have issues with their accounts, what should they do?
Well, if a taxpayer has issues with the account, the solution is not to just, sit in the confines of your office. Go out to the tax office to seek advice. But it is even better to file, provide the information to the tax office and discuss the mode of payment rather than just staying in your office and saying you have one issue or the other. Because of that, you don't want to pay or you don't want to file your returns. It is better to file returns because by filing, you are avoiding penalty for late filing of returns. But if you don't file, the late returns penalty will continue to accumulate and it can become quite substantial. So it is in the interest of the taxpayers, when you have issues, go to the nearest tax office, see the tax controller. If the officers don't give you a satisfactory explanation, insist that you must see the tax controller, table your problems before the tax controller, and I'm very sure the tax controller will render all the necessary assistance to the taxpayer.
Correct, Baba! Correct, Baba!
My name na Chinedu. I am MD CEO, God Divine Wealth International Ventures Nigeria Limited. I get shop everywhere for Abuja. People, they help me. They want to be correct Baba like me. But no be that one, they make me correct Baba. Now say I dey obey the law and then I dey see better thing from government. That is why I go to collect my own from A. Myself don't become correct Baba. No, you're my guy. Go collect and fill your own Form A. Sharp.
If you dey live for Abuja, abi you dey work for Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, abi you be first man, Army o, Navy o, Air Force o, or even our friend police or even foreigner, this story na for you. Form A na the form where you go fill make you take pay your correct tax, and you must to collect and fill your own between January and March every year. Make your government for fit to provide good things for you to jolly like good road, correct water, ogbonge education, light wey no dey shake eye, good security and other merchant them. Now oga supposed to go collect Form A from any office of Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) and share to people where they work with them. But if you refuse to collect your own Form A, law go gbab you. This story that from Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS).
There you are. We'll be looking at the concept of enforcement in tax collection. What are its aims and objectives? What exactly is enforcement itself? What do the tax authorities stand to gain from enforcement exercises? And talking about categories of taxpayers, or is it tax dodgers now? Are you in the category that says you don't pay because you don't see what government is doing? That is simply not correct. Capital N-O-T. A lot has been done, a lot is being done, and a lot still needs to be done. Yes, that's a form of life and living. Government is a continuum. Living or life is a continuum. There's nowhere in the world, and there's no person in the world who has all that he needs. Every new day brings its own needs and challenges. That is why we are living. So, contribute your quota. Do you belong to the category that says that you don't pay taxes because you don't know what to do? Like they say, ignorance is no excuse in law. And by the way, the media is awash with information on what to do, on the rights, the duties, and the obligations of the citizen. We have this program, Tax Matters. You have adverts on radio, on TV, in newspapers. The tax authorities from time to time engage in public engagement fora with taxpayers. And as for keeping records, you can resolve today to begin to keep simple records of expenses and income and expenditure. you can begin to keep all your receipts, recharge cards, telephone recharge cards, receipts from fuel stations for petrol, for diesel, car purchases, car maintenance, staff salaries, sundry purchases. No receipt, no amount is too small. Leave it to the tax authorities to decide whether this is an allowable expense or disallowable expenses. That is their business. Keep all your receipts. Engage the services of qualified accountants to audit your accounts for you. They don't have to be in your day-to-day employment. And of course, engage the services of a qualified tax practitioner to file your tax returns. Let's meet again on this station, same day of the week, same time of the day, next week for part 2 of this expose. Have a blessed week ahead.